Welcome. We're live. Mike Crawford, Young Jerks. Got quite a few guests here. Running a little behind, but I'm good. We're right on time, actually. We came on right at 7 p.m., but I'm personally running behind, which has been it's happened a few times over the last months, but not too often. I mean, mostly I'm usually the first one ready to go for the show, but it's that time of year. I think everyone's got commitments and springtime and family and all sorts of things happening on Sunday nights. So I'm just happy to be here, be able to do this show, and we have a huge amount of guests on standby tonight. We're going to be talking something that we haven't talked about in a while. We kind of have, though. I mean, we've had Stem Haverhill on Caroline Pinot talking about the impact fees and how they're really detrimental to cannabis applicants in the industry. We've also talked to Warren Lynch and his crew about the city of Malden and the lawsuit that's going on there about cannabis regulations and cannabis licensing, shutting out the smaller local players, the ones that we really want to see open after all these years. Now, I mean, at this point, we've been covering people going out of business. There are people that have been open for years going out of business, and there are other applicants that still haven't been able to open, and they've invested a lot of money, and we're sick of hearing these stories. So tonight we're going to put a bunch of them up on the screen and have them tell some of the stories about what's going on and why they're not able to open, and hopefully we could be able to help them tonight. Hopefully contact your local town, your local city, the Cannabis Control Commission. We'll find out how we can help them, because I think that is something that we all need, whether it's workers, consumers. We want to see a much more open market for cannabis versus what it is in Massachusetts and other states. We're dealing with this everywhere. And in Massachusetts, we've got a number of folks here that I'm going to bring up, and you can call in tonight too if you want to weigh in on any of this. 978-560-3155. I should also say too, I want to thank our guests for coming on the last show, Nancy Lesson and Elise Pector from Mascosh. That just happened on Friday night, and here we are on Sunday night doing another live episode. And it's due to the interest in the viewers and the listeners and the folks that want to come on the show. So we're very thankful for that, to have a mission for workers, for small business owners, for cannabis consumers. And there's going to be a lot more coming up. On Wednesday night, we have another live show at 7 p.m. Talking across the board, consumers, patients, workers, and applicants. How do we fix this industry? We're going to have another roundtable, cannabis roundtable on Wednesday night. Tonight, we're doing a cannabis roundtable with folks that want to open, folks that are applicants that haven't been allowed to open. One person, I believe, is actually, he's here too, who is actually open right now, but he's such a good guy. He wants to help other folks too that haven't been able to open. So he's going to be speaking on some of that as well. So I'm really happy to bring up all the guests. I'm going to bring them all up and have them introduce themselves one by one here. Why don't we start? You know what we're going to do? We've had a couple folks that have already been on the show a few times. So I'm going to have them wait a little longer, and we're going to just kick it off one by one. We'll get the new guest on first and foremost to introduce themselves. So let's bring up Jonathan Lau. Tell us
Hi,
who you are.
Michael.
Hello. Tell us who you are, your quick introduction, biography, or 5-minute life story.
My name is Jonathan Lau. I was born and raised in Boston/Brookline, Massachusetts, so in the Metro Boston area. I've been trying to get into the cannabis industry since probably legalization in 2016. Attended a lot of meetings in Brookline for zoning, a lot of meetings in Boston with Kim Janey and Michelle Wu, which was still Boston City Councilor at that time. Still fighting to try and get a license in either Brookline or Boston, Massachusetts.
So you've had two locations that you were looking at, one in Boston and one in Brookline, and you're still not open since 2016.
The one location that I've had since 2018 is in Brighton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
That one I've been paying rent on. It's in the Cleveland Circle area. I think up to the present time, I've paid almost $250,000 in rent.
So that's like 5 years of rent in one location in Boston, Brighton, Boston, right?
Yes. Luckily, I am able to run a vape shop there to help people quit smoking cigarettes and get their nicotine or their dry or vaporizers in a healthier fashion. But it's been tough with the flavor ban and everything. I've been trying to switch industries for the last, yeah, like I said, 5 years. It's been tough.
So they'll let you sell the vapor, but they won't let you sell the cannabis. That's very interesting. Do we call you? Because I know you're on Facebook. You're George, right?
I go by Jonathan or John,
Jonathan.
whatever's
Oh,
easier for you.
did I get that wrong? Were you not George? Did I totally mess
That's
it up?
yeah, that's a nickname.
Okay, okay,
That's a
okay,
nickname I put
okay.
on there.
So Jonathan or John. So
Whichever's easier for you.
Okay, perfect. I want to thank you for being here tonight. We're gonna get into the reasons why you're having, problems. But we're gonna introduce some of the other guests too. We're gonna bring them up. Let's bring up Angelo right now.
How you doing, Mike?
Good. How you doing? Why don't you tell us who you are, your quick little life story?
My name is Angelo Zammit, co-founder of Monarchy Cannabis Inc. with my fiance, Ami Pincioli. I got involved in the cannabis industry, I want to say three years ago. We decided to embark on this journey. We hired lawyers here, hired lawyers there. Nobody was really doing the trick for us. We found a company out of Boston. I don't want to say no names, but the company out of Boston ended up working for us for about almost 9 months to a year almost. And we had a location originally out of Lynn, Mass, and we were being held up by the lawyers. And come to find out that they were opening beside us, actually. So we got kind of set back another year because once they opened up, we were kind of shut down. They quit on us. We had to move to Salem, and Salem welcomed us with open arms. Victoria Caldwell's a sweetheart. That woman's been amazing. But the issue wasn't with her, it's with, obviously, as we know, the CCC. So I got welcomed into Salem. We got a building about November of last year, 2022. We pay excessive amount of money because we're in the North Shore. We're not in Western Mass where rent is significantly cheap. You're talking thousands upon thousands a month to have a building here, especially a warehouse. And I partnered with the guy, not partnered, but David Rabinowitz stepped in about 9 to 10 months ago. And the guy's done a lot of things for me pro bono. He's done a lot for me. And he's brought us to a point where we thought we were going to, which we'll get into later, but we thought things were going to go smoothly, and it just didn't work out that way. And which, again, we'll talk about later, obviously. But here we are, almost 3 years in, almost about $175,000 deep with lawyers, advisors, and all that. More next month. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts.
It's a similar story we're hearing over and over again. Just it sucks. It really sucks. Let's bring up. I'm going to bring up Warren Lynch and Steve McMorris, who also are working on, like we said earlier, they're applicants in the city of Malden, and they're suing their city right now. And from everything I've been seeing, it looks really good that they may actually win, because a lot of these lawsuits, unfortunately, I feel like judges often side with the cities and towns, even when the cities and towns aren't doing the right thing. But I think they have a good opportunity to win in this lawsuit. So we want to bring them up. Who wants to go first, I guess? Warren or Steve? Let's go with Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve McMorris. I'm the co-founder of Benevolent Botanicals, and we have been trying to open in Malden. Technically, we started the company in 2018. They didn't really have a process until 2019. And yeah, now we're in litigation, and the Attorney General says to watch our case to see how the state is going to enforce zoning on municipalities.
And Warren, you want to?
Yeah. Basically, like you two other guys, we've been held up by the death by 1,000 cuts red tape process that cannabis applicants have to go through, especially in certain towns. Like Salem is more welcoming, but Lynn wasn't, right? And Malden is one of the towns that has been very unwelcoming They let two applicants in who had millions of dollars, but since the city voted for cannabis, they're supposed to allow five, but the zoning doesn't allow five. It's just so restrictive that there's only room for two, maybe three. And so we're suing the city, and if we win, maybe it'll help in a bunch of other towns, Lynn and Quincy. There's a lot of towns that they just restrict the heck out of you in ways that isn't really legal by state law, and we hope to prove that in court.
And we also have Chief here, who's do we have Chief? Yes, we do. Chief, who is an owner of Yamba Market in Central Square, Cambridge. You have a retail, social equity retail license right now. Tell us, because I know that some things have happened recently too. Your friend passed away, trying to wait for a license. Do you want to talk about that, or what do you want to say tonight?
Well, thanks for the intro, Mike. Yeah, most people know me as Chief. I'm CSO Moore, CEO of Yamba Market. And I'm just here to support you, Mike, and the show, and other applicants, and a positive business environment for cannabis in the state of Massachusetts. And so, yeah, I have been disturbed by a lot of the stuff that I've seen. I've been in this business for a while, and I experienced a lot. And so, I'm basically now like becoming a whistleblower because I've seen increasing corruption and other things. And the results are a lot of the things that folks are reporting here on the show already. It's becoming harder for smaller businesses to get through licensing to achieve what they're trying to achieve, for a lot of reasons. And, I'm here to support those businesses and help create a better business environment.
Thank you, Chief. And I know that you had posted something about a friend who had passed away. You want to talk about that?
So, well, not a friend, but an associate in this space, has passed away. And, we we cannabis owners, EEs, SEs, who've been trying to get into this business for a very long time and face tremendous obstacles. We face a lot of anti-business realities and actions too. And I think all of that, along with the stress of making it so hard to get into this business, negatively affects a lot of people's health. And it's something I want to bring to people's awareness. It's an extremely stressful business to be in. You kind of getting it from all sides. It's a wild west, despite the fact that it's a licensed legal business. There's still a lot of behaviors that I would believe are illegal going on. And, it always falls on the shoulders of the smaller businesses and the ones without the loud voices. And so, I'm going to continue to be an advocate, Mike, like I have been for small businesses and the individuals that are really pioneers for this space. And there's been a lot of stress put on us. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. And I think that this business environment and people who are concerned with it need to start maintaining it better. Really do. That's really what I got to say on that.
Thank you so much. That's well said. I'm going to put that fundraiser up in a minute too. I was just trying to search for it. I want to go back to John. Tell us about what your issue, what issues you're facing that you're not able to open in Brighton. You've spent $250,000 over 5 years. You also haven't been able to open in Brookline. Like, what are the issues that you're facing? Why is it taking so long?
So it seems like the issue for Boston, Brighton, when I went to the Boston Cannabis Board in front of them, I was introduced as a general applicant because I don't reside in Boston. And my small-time unknown lawyer, Christopher Ray. That was how we were introduced on the Boston Cannabis Board. I've learned my lesson, even from having a small-time lawyer, being seen as a general applicant, fighting with Happy Valley this whole time, applying before them to the city of Boston, and just basically fighting them this whole time. It's been crazy. I looked up their lawyer. The Google images has him shaking hands with Marty Walsh, so he's pretty well connected. And it just doesn't seem fair that just because they have a lot of money, they originally were partnered with the Mary Ann's owner, and they got okayed in 2019. The reason why they didn't open was because they were held up in litigation from the landlord of CVS. The landlord of CVS knows that Mary Ann's has no parking. Most of the customers would be parking at CVS. That was a no-go for that landlord. So that landlord tied him up in litigation. Once the Dunkin' Donuts spot opened up in Cleveland Circle, I knew that it was priced for only a dispensary. It just happened that the owner of the old Dunkin' Donuts spot at Cleveland Circle is also the same landlord as the CVS. He owns those spots. I inquired about that spot. It was $30,000 a month. That's way out of my range. I knew Happy Valley was going to scoop up and try and get that spot. It only made sense. So in the meantime, since 2019, I've been getting signatures from all kinds of neighbors and abutters in the area. I have no support from the Brighton Alston Improvement Association. They seem to just not like me from the start. I'm not sure what their problem is. When I started presenting in front of the Brighton Alston Improvement Association, the head director, Annabelle, interrupted me and accused me of having some kind of inspectional services violation for having the wording marijuana and wax accessories on my storefront. She probably passed by my storefront, didn't like that it said marijuana, wax, and accessories as some of the things that we sold, and tried to call inspectional services on me. Either way, long story short, I never had a violation. She accused me of having a violation. They weren't going to support me anyways because they're already supporting Happy Valley and had their mind made up for whatever reason. So that's what's going on in Brighton. I still don't have I haven't reapplied yet since 2019. I am trying to figure out logistically what to do there. I have to talk to a few lawyers that I probably won't name because I haven't retained them yet. And they mentioned because of the stipulations that Boston has, I should have moved to Boston a year ago and then reapplied after that year was over. To me, that doesn't really make much sense because I'm only one of a handful of Asians that have the social equity approval from the state CCC. So it makes it hard for me to understand why Boston has so much residency regulations for their equity program if I'm approved by the state. But Mike, do you want to hear about what's going on in Brookline?
I do, but I just wonder about Boston, whether those residency requirements are even legal. Because in the state of Maine, they tried to do resident requirements, and they got thrown out by the courts. Like, I just wonder if that's even. It seems very exclusionary, and it seems like throwing up hurdles to. You're a social equity applicant, right?
Yes, I'm social equity approved by the state.
It just I don't get this. We I don't know. Maybe we need to start having some of these Boston commissioners on. I guess. I mean, just have you talked to them about this? Is there any chance that they'll change that in Boston?
I've been waiting for them to change it. Hopefully, with Charlie Baker signing into legislation S3096 that goes into effect July 1st, these municipalities will have to make it easier, quote, expand opportunities for small business owners, minorities, and people that were hurt by the war on drugs, end quote, to get into the industry. Monetary fines were mentioned in that bill, cumulative of all the HCA annually that they take in for not just one dispensary, but a lot of dispensaries in that municipality, all of them. So if, for instance, in Brookline, and if you have a few seconds for me to talk about Brookline,
Yeah, definitely.
Brookline just recently, May 2nd, they had the town vote. Question 3 on that town vote was to vote yes on question 3. Voting yes on question 3 would mean to restrict the number of dispensaries at the current number of 4. There are already 4 multi-state operators that operate in Brookline. There's Sanctuary, there's Netta, there's Mission, and then there's ComAv Canacare. 2 of them are actually on the same block. ComAv Canacare, yeah, and Mission. They're on the same block on ComAv, right across from the old city sports. So with the town actually allowing a vote like that to cap the licenses at 4, it was a big mistake because it goes directly against what Charlie Baker signed into legislation about expanding opportunities, not limiting, not capping, but expanding. So Brookline is now in the predicament that the whole Yes on 3 campaign, it passed by 60, yeah, I think it was 60 to 40. So it passed. And now the town is limited to 4 licenses. They neglected to talk about equity. They neglected to talk about the fact that if they cap it at 4 licenses, they're potentially shutting out a social equity applicant approved by the state CCC that resides in the city, in the town.
That's what I'm talking
Brookline,
about.
in their own town.
Yeah, we're seeing this over and over again. The ones that they should be approving first get shut out. Where
Yes.
the big money, they always pick the big money, the out of state, the already existing, the already folks that already have stores, and then those companies are always shutting the smaller guys out like you. It's just not right. We're going to talk much more about what's going on in Boston and Brookline tonight. I want to get Angelo back up here too, because Angelo, you've been shut out a totally different way that I don't think people are aware of.
Oh yeah.
And you've spent, like you said, $175,000. You're paying rent in Salem. I'm from this area, North Shore. Salem is like Eastern Mass is expensive. The water's more expensive. Salem is going to be even more expensive. It's a tourist area. I mean, it's going to be the cost is out of control. So a lot of people that follow and are supportive of cannabis but aren't into the cannabis space like we are, they don't understand what the issues are. I just want to let people know when you're applying for a license, one of the things that you have to do is you have to secure the space. You have to secure it. And that means that if you don't own it, you have to pay rent on usually an empty spot, an empty building. And that's why they're out so much money. And Angelo, you've been in this program trying to open. Tell us what's been going on and why you're not allowed to open after spending a crazy amount of money.
So when I applied for, I think it was cohort 2 or cohort 3, I don't know which one it was for the social equity. I thought at that process, they looked at your background, they did the checks, they cleared you for everything, you're good to go, and you're ready to open. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They don't tell you that. So I get in, me and my fiance, we're happy because I didn't know if I'd get in or not, to be honest with you. I have a checkered background. I never denied that. I was very upfront about that. And I thought that was the reason I got into the social equity. I've been to prison for, cannabis. I've You know, I was addicted to drugs at one point in my life. I grew up in Lynn, Mass, a disproportionately impacted area. I've overcome a lot of these obstacles. So when I got into the cohort 2 or cohort 3, I thought that's the green light. We're off and running. Immediately we went out, we hired lawyers, we hired advisors, we got things going. You know, I've opened successful businesses. I've opened multi-million-dollar businesses. I've been extremely successful. Hired over, 150 employees. So this is where it gets confusing. So now it comes time to, after I secure the space, I'm paying for months and months. We go to the pre-cert process. I applied, and 6 months later, took 6 months for a simple answer. Now, during that process, I'm like, guys, there has to be some kind of protocol. You can't just approve applicants whenever you decide to. If we have protocols and we have to meet certain criteria in the timeline, you should too. It works both ways. You don't just get to put papers on your desks. And by me questioning them, I think it got retaliatory. I think they started to say, hey, this kid's a problem. He's not going to go away. He keeps asking questions. He wants answers, and he's not going away. 6 months later, fast forward, I get denied for a suitability review. They want to, I'm not suitable all of a sudden. I was suitable to get into the social equity. I am the poster child for these people. I should be a poster for them. I have been to prison. I have been addicted to drugs. I did grow up in Lynn. Okay. I stopped using drugs. All these things. I turned my life around completely, did a 360, had children, bought houses, employed hundreds of people. You would think that these people would take that into account instead of chastising me over a petty larceny case that happened in 2015. That really wasn't even my fault. I had no choice but to take the blame for it. So this was mentioned, and they said, you're not suitable. And I said, okay. So I presented a cure, which I was told what to present for a cure. I was to drop my shares to 9.9%, lose controlling interest, forfeit 90.1% to my fiance, Ami Pincholi, which I did. I had no problem doing that. I don't need to be in control. I just want the company open for my family. We put a lot of investments into this. And I got the green light from, again, I don't want to say names. I got the green light from a specific person that happens to work at the commission. And I thought,
let's stop right there. So someone, we're not going to say the name, but someone at the Cannabis Control Commission told you that you'd be good if you did this.
On a personal phone call, yeah. On a personal phone call, yes. You know who he is. We talked about him in your messaging. So
you took action on it?
Yep, I did. I did what I was told to do. I said, no problem. If that's gonna get me open and get my family where they need to be, take care of them and feed them, then let's do it. I have no problem forfeiting power to my fiance. I lose power every day in my home, so it don't matter. I have no control. So fast forward, they go over this suitability and they deny me. And they deny me because allegedly I have control over my fiance. They said, well, seeing the connection between you and your fiance, we think that you have control over her, which would then give you control over the company. I said, well, I don't think you should be thinking for her. You don't know her. You shouldn't make assumptions like that. Okay. But that's here nor there. That's discriminatory all in itself. Saying that I control my fiance is just disgusting in itself. And then they also denied me for a drug case, right? Which was involved with Annie Dukin, which I provided them paperwork for that was dismissed and vacated. They shouldn't even be talking about that. That should not be up for discussion. I was vacated of charges. Let's not even talk about that. I said, that has nothing to do with this. So then they went to option B or C, which was a larceny that happened in 2015 for a $399 computer. Now today, a year after the crime, right? Chapter 266, section 30, states that to be considered a larceny, it must be $1,200 because now they consider inflation, right? So you're denying me my future over something that today is no longer considered a crime. Now, wouldn't that be contradictory, I said, considering that if you're allowing all these people who committed crimes with cannabis in, you need to look at them the same. You don't get to pick and choose what crimes are crimes then and what crimes are crimes now and not, you know what I'm saying? So I said, what you're denying, and again, I have a meeting with the SRC board tomorrow on the 22nd. So I'll shoot my shot. I'll give them the truth, and they'll do what they want with it. But again, so I was denied for that. And now you know how you're able. So when you're denied, I don't know if any of these gentlemen on here have been through a suitability review. I'm not good enough to be part of this company, but I'm good enough to take my taxes in 5 other companies that I've made millions of dollars for. They took all that money. So I'm very vocal about that to them. I don't hold no punches. I'm not afraid of retaliatory. I fight. So I'm not afraid of it. And if somebody don't stand up, then nobody's going to, because it doesn't look like anything's changing. But I told them, you should do this process at the cohort part. You should be clearing people to go from that
Exactly.
point on,
Right.
not wrong. You don't put them in the SE program. That's backwards, right? And then say, oh, by the way, you don't qualify. You're yeah, you're SE, you're social equity, but it's useless. And then you get these people excited, involved, just to tell them no and break their heart and break their banks. It doesn't make sense. So then you got time to answer. So when you get denied, you have X amount of time to gather all the information because they're supposed to give you what you call a memorandum. Okay. And if you don't submit all your evidence 10 days before your hearing date, none of it's considered. That's it. They gave me my memorandum 10 days exactly to the day that I would have to submit my any proof of anything that they were denying me for. So when I get this letter of memorandum, the day I'm supposed to submit all the evidence for, which I don't know, so I can't prepare for any of it, they offer to extend my my SRC hearing to June 2nd. I said, absolutely not. No, we're not going to do that because that's going to cost you another $15,000. Do you understand that, people? And I don't know if you're going to say yes or no to me. I have to feed my family. You're draining me. So no, we're not going to do that. If I have to follow rules, you have to follow rules. You were supposed to give me that memorandum and enough time, an adequate time for me to get the proper documentation to prove that what you're saying is invalid, right? Which I never had the opportunity to do so. Which is whatever. I said I'm going to run with it. You know, I don't think it's fair. If I can't submit my evidence, then your whole memorandum shouldn't be submitted because it wasn't submitted in time, according to your bylaws or whatever you wrote up. Or they change the rules as they go along. So that's where we are. And but when I got the memorandum, here's the funny part, Mike. When I got the memorandum, things that should not have been included in that memorandum were included. And I know why they were included. Let's talk about the Annie Dukin case. That was vacated. They're putting that in the memorandum to make me appear worse than I am to the people that are judging me, saying yes or no. As long as they see it, it's hard to get out of your mind. It's like going on trial, right? And you tell the jury something to say, oh, strike. Well, it's too late. They already heard it. You can't strike it. It's done. The damage is done. So they've already done the damage by writing this memorandum and putting in all these charges that I had when I was a kid that should have never been included because they were vacated by the state of Massachusetts, which means I'm not guilty. Even though I've done time for them, I'm not guilty. So that's that. And to deny me my future over a petty larceny, which is considered today a petty larceny, by the way, which the judge let me off probation early for. Then they said I violated probation in the memorandum. I never violated probation, Mike. If you violate probation, you think the judge is going to let me off probation early, which I gave them the paperwork to that too. So it's all games, and it's all about smothering me and trying to make me back down and quit, and tap out. I'm just not going to do that. They're going to have to bury me themselves because I'm not going to bury myself.
I love it, Angelo. I love a lot of what you said. Because you got to speak up and stand up so they don't do this crap to anyone else. And I think some of the stuff you've already been saying and doing is having an effect, actually. Like,
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that too, because even behind the scenes, like, have you talked to Shannon O'Brien, number one? Have you talked to the Senator Michael Moore? Have you talked to both of them?
Yeah, oh yeah. So I talked to Shannon O'Brien a couple times, and she seemed to be very kind, and I have no quarrels with Miss O'Brien. I know she doesn't control the commission. You know, she mentioned, oh, there's money that's going to be getting grants. I don't need your grants. I need to get open. Thank you for your grants, but that's years down the road. Okay, let's not talk about fairy tales. I need to feed my kid, my family. So thank you, but I need a solution to the problem. Okay, so that was my issue there. Which she was, again, I have no quarrels with Miss O'Brien. She was a sweetheart to me. She was responsive, and thank you for that. My issues are with other people there who I feel like are railroading me because I have a vocal cord, I have a voice of my own, I have a brain, I do what you call thinking, and maybe my history. Maybe they don't like the fact that I have one felony on my record, and I've done multiple things, and I don't know. It's awkward. I don't know why they're doing this, but I'm gonna find out. I'm surely going to find out. And if they think that they're going to push me around, I'm just going to back down and bow out. You got the wrong guy. You picked the wrong SE because that's not who I am. I didn't get this far in life. I didn't get sober, Mike, for 10 years. I didn't open multi-million-dollar companies because I bow out and bend the knee. I don't do that.
So you've been sober for 10 years now?
10 years, yes. 10 years of my life. I've never stepped. Hey, by the way, Mike, I've never had a run-in with the law since I got sober. Oh, and by the way, when considering a suitability review, they're supposed to consider in their own bylaws, and I can post them, you can post them on this live stream, they're supposed to consider when the crime was committed. Has there been a crime since? What was the punishment for the crime? Which I got off probation, right? What the applicant has done in both their personal life and business life, right? Which I've done a substantial amount of things. Okay, they considered none of that, because if they did consider even a little bit, they would take that and throw it out the window. They wouldn't even look at. They would look at the man I've become, the things I've accomplished, the jobs I've given to over 150 people, but they don't care. It just doesn't seem the issues with me. It's not with what I've done. They've never looked at one thing.
David's here too. I know you mentioned him. You've been working with him.
Oh, David, there you go. Hey, David.
What do you have to add on this?
That's my buddy right there.
You know, Mike, I looked at when Angelo brought up to me the issue of this happened back, I believe it was November 2015. And it's an interesting story. And why he pled guilty is just as interesting. He had a long criminal record at the time. They arrested Angelo and his fiance, and they levered him. And they said, look, you plead guilty and we'll let her go. And so he did what he thought was the right thing to do. He had a long history and she'd never been arrested. So he pled guilty for stealing a $399 computer. If you go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, to their inflation calculator, that computer would be worth $510 today. So they've increased the limit to like $1,200, which means under today's standards, what he did would not be considered larceny. And and I've seen them apply similar logic of somebody else I worked with had a crime at the federal level that meant he couldn't get into the SE program. Put him in touch, that gentleman in touch with an attorney who analyzed it, wrote to the commission and said, had he committed these crimes in Massachusetts, here's what the charge would have been. And they let him in. So I think Angelo is getting the short end of the stick. And, you know, I don't like to speculate, but based upon what happened at NECAN with MCR Labs, and then the what happened after that, basically the raiding of their facility that looked like retaliation. I watched Angelo pushing back for weeks. I'm not even really pushing back, saying, when are you going to give me an answer? A high-ranking officer within the commission told him, go down to 9.99%, we'll get it done for you. He did that, and then weeks are going by. And for a commission that says, oh, we've got so much empathy for social equity, they sure don't, because time is money. And when you're an SC without a lot of capital, you're burning through carrying costs
every month. I mean,
Every
that's
month.
why Angelo's like not June, whatever 2nd or whatever it was, because it's like
Another
the
15
first is
grand.
already passed. I paid another month's of rent. I mean, it's that simple. Everyone gets that. Why don't they get it? Who do you think's to blame at the commission, David? I mean, you want to say?
I got too much business in front of the commission, Mike, to take that.
That's the problem, right? No one,
Mike,
no
you
one,
know who the blame is, Mike.
I know who it is. I mean, I
You
can
know who
say
it is, Mike.
I've already brought it up, and I will bring it up tonight. But I think that's part of the problem. And I'm not blaming you guys, because I think you guys are all brave. I think you're all heroes. Everyone who's on this show tonight is a hero. But that's the problem with the commission, and that's why they're giving Michael Moore all the ammunition at the State House to pass a bill that they don't want to see passed. Like, because this is the crap. This is the crap. The arbitrariness of it, the secretiveness, the animosity, that if you're not our friend, you're out. Like, it's just not right.
It's very,
not
Mike,
right.
you know, it's suspicious and arbitrary, really. That's what it is. And you know what, Mike, I never said I was a perfect angel. I'm not claiming that, you know, but I feel I paid my dues, and I just want a fair shot. That's all I want. I just want to be treated fairly, and I want a fair chance. I want a fair hearing. I don't think that's a lot to ask for. And I want what I've done in the past 10 years to be considered. That's all. Consider what I've done as an adult, not as an immature child growing up in the city of Lynn, surrounded by nothing but chaos. You know, I had to take myself from that. Remember that. That was hard to disattach from. When that's all you know, Mike. You grew up here, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to be held to account for stuff that I did when I was younger. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you know about all the drugs, Mike. You know about the addictions. It's forced on us, and it becomes, when it's your environment, you don't know any better. When you don't know better, you can't do better. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't about my fiance where I learned how to be normal and think like a human being and not an animal. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you for allowing me on, Mike.
And so the name of your company right now is Monarchy
Cannabis Inc.
And like people listening, because I know there are people who are concerned about this. How can they help you? Is there anything that they can do to help you get your license right now?
All I want is for the SRC. The only people who can really help me is the SRC. There's nothing I can do everything myself. I prefer to. I just need them to give me a fair shot, Mike. Look at the data, look at the facts, look at what I've become, look what I've done, and know that I pose no harm to anybody. I just want to feed my family and put them in a position where they don't have to grow up the way I did.
It's so frustrating. Who I know we have a huge panel. Anyone want to comment on what we've heard so far tonight? Both from, I mean, we're just getting into it. There's also Warren Lynch to come. Anyone want to make a comment? How about you, Chief? Because you heard a lot tonight.
Yeah, well, I feel bad. I feel bad listening to these stories from Angelo, from John, but they're, as I hear them, these are the stories I'm hearing more and more. Frankly, Mike, these are getting more and more common. I do think there's something really wrong at the CCC, but I don't know what it is. I have very strong suspicions. And how about this, Mike? How about this? We're all talking about social equity. Why isn't it working? There's all these articles, right? Whoa, social equity. Oh, why doesn't it work? And all that. People aren't talking about why it's not working. It's because it would be an ugly story to actually tell the truth about why it's not working. And so I'll give you this, Mike, okay? Folks need to take an honest look at how the nonprofit industrial complex has affected cannabis in Massachusetts and denied social equity opportunities. It needs to be looked at, okay? If you're not looking at that, then I don't think your folks are honest about what's really happened in Massachusetts. You can keep writing articles about social equity and pretend to scratch your head why things aren't working. But when you have people in the program saying, hey, there's a nasty feedback loop here that actually hurts us.
Hey, Chief, can I chime in, Chief, real quick? Chief, real quick, do you know what the problem is too? That these are a bunch of people coming from the Treasury, and David pointed this out to me, Rabinowitz, that are used to getting billions of dollars. You know what I mean? They go out, they collect, they end up billions of dollars. They don't understand the small business. We need somebody in there that understands the small business.
And that's where the nonprofits have co-opted the whole movement. Yep. And that's where there's been a lot of this, and where the small businesses are left behind. They didn't talk to us, but they were advocating for us. Why doesn't the thing work for us? I don't know. Why is the CCC so opposed to some of these operators? What's going on there too? Because this stuff has creeped in. The bias has creeped in. You got a problem, and you're seeing it in Boston a whole lot. And folks are not going to be able to hide from the corruption that's going on in Boston relative to cannabis. They're not. It's too much.
It's interesting because I think that I have more business experience as a dog walker, as a waiter, bartender in the past, as someone who's put on events, shows, than anyone in these nonprofit spaces for cannabis. And you're right, they're kind of leading how things go. It's like they're speaking
they're
for
doing more than that, Mike.
Yeah, I'm being too nice, right?
Some of these nonprofits have become like little hit groups, and they've become known as these folks that you can pay that will go and terrorize, threaten, and try to harm other businesses that might be perceived as your competition. That's well known. That's increasing in Boston. Folks are being rewarded for that type of behavior by licensing authorities and the rest in Boston and Massachusetts. And this is what I'm saying, Mike. And, people can listen to me now, or you can figure it out later. You have all these SEs and EEs that haven't really been able to realize what was promised to them. Who polices the CCC? Who does that? We're getting into an area where this social equity stuff is starting to just be exploitative. And, if no one's going to be policing anything, and if folks are just going to be, it's just going to be a Wild West. We're inviting people into the program to kick them out, inviting them into the program to be sued by another programmee, just no liaison or people to help you at the CCC. They have to drop all this social equity talk and stop exploiting people because they're not really supporting us. They're not.
Or you have to sue your own city too, like Warren Lynch has had to do. And Steve, I want to bring them up right now. Steve, do you have any comment on any of what we've been talking about right now? Oh, I think you're on mute, Steve. I'm sorry. Let's go. Let's try Warren. Warren, do you have any comment? I think you're on mute too. I think we have you both on mute. It's okay. Or is it me? Do I have an
Can you
issue?
hear me
I'm
now?
not on mute anymore.
Okay. Who wants to go? Warren or Steve?
Either one.
You go, Warren.
All right. So, yeah, it's sad to hear that there are so many challenges at the state level as well. We haven't gotten to that level, but at the city and town level, they absolutely do what you guys are talking about. They try and bleed you dry, and they make the process so complicated with so many, contradictory different things that the rich guys can get through and us regular folks just can't. I'm a social equity participant. I was arrested for cannabis and I'm a regular, we invested my inheritance of $60,000 into this company. I'm not a millionaire. We're not millionaires. And the millionaires seem to figure out how to fix things behind the scenes, and us regular folks are unable to. And so hopefully this bill that Michael Moore is putting through, and maybe our lawsuit will help fix that situation, because like some of these cities and towns they make the zoning completely illegal. I heard that River Run Gardens had to try 5 different properties. We know a guy in Malden who had to try 3 different properties. And it's supposed to be so welcoming for social equity. In fact, the Malden Cannabis Board is pretty open-minded about social equity. They recommended 3 different social equity candidates to advance to the next round, but then at the next round, all 3 of us get stuck in limbo because of the zoning, which is impossible. And there's so many catch-22s to catch the little guy, and it's completely unfair.
It does. It sucks. What's the status of your lawsuit right now, and what's the timeline? When do you think you'll find out about it?
Steve, you can correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong. It's been wicked complicated, but it looks like the judge is about to make a ruling of summary judgment, which, if she rules in our favor, will mean that, well, it could be a whole bunch of different kinds of rulings. It's really up to the judge. But she could rule that we're just allowed to open no matter what the city says. She could rule that all of the cannabis zoning in Malden is completely illegal and they have to rewrite the entire cannabis code. And either way, it's going to be a precedent-setting case. I guess the attorney general and the former attorney general have both been watching our case, and it's been written up in law journals. Whichever way the judge rules, it's going to affect all the cities and towns. So hopefully Brookline, Lynn, and Boston, some of these other towns will have to make some changes if the ruling goes well. Which we're about to see some fruits of that in the next 90 days, we think.
I hope so. And we just gave you the an award at the Young Jerks Workers Awards.
Thank you.
Which is well deserved, because I mean, this is like affecting everybody. This could be precedent setting to help a lot of people in similar situations throughout the state.
Yeah.
So Steve, do you want to add anything to anything everyone said, or anything else that we're missing tonight?
Yeah, it's just the cities find so many ways to give us the runaround, and it's such a shame because we're the people who are invested in our communities and who care about the impact we have, on our neighbors and our peers. And you can give all your licenses to out-of-state millionaires, but then when they vacuum up all the money they make and take it right out of the state again, I mean, it's not going to do anybody any good. In Malden, I think it's kind of tragic because they were like so gung-ho about soliciting Malden residents, and they're like, oh, why can't we get any Malden residents to apply? And Warren and I have both lived here for over a decade, and we were like super excited to find our location, very excited about our partners in the business. You know, there's always that fear as a little guy that some big fish is going to come along and eat you up and like cut you out of your own kind of picture and everything. And instead we found these lovely, accommodating people who are knowledgeable, competent, experienced to work with. And it's still just like self-contradictory red tape and a bunch of governmental bodies being like, I want to abdicate responsibility for anything controversial, and like just needless delays. And you hear it again and again and again across the state. So like Warren said, we're hopeful that, I mean, obviously we're like living and dying by whether we get a favorable decision, but we're hopeful that if we do, it's going to be really helpful to other small struggling companies and other municipalities to kind of break through that red tape barricade that they set in front of us for some reason.
I hope so. I hope it gets settled pretty damn quickly too. You know, it's just ridiculous. We're talking about a lawsuit that they've filed against the city of Malden to open. Applicants are not being allowed to open in a lot of cities and towns, and sometimes it's the Cannabis Control Commission too. We've discussed that tonight with Angelo. John is facing it in Brookline and the city of Boston. Is there anything that you think that we can do, like as a show or even as like a community that's listening, to help you out to open in Boston or Brookline, John?
For Boston, are your listeners, if they want to show support for me, and show opposition for Happy Valley, which already has 2 locations, one in East Boston and one in Gloucester, they can email Francis.Mendoza-McCarthy, that's FRANCIS.MENDOZA-MCCARTHY@boston.gov, and just oppose Happy Valley at their Beacon Street location. I lived down the street from there for almost 40 years now. I grew up in the location. I'm from the area. I have 1,500 signatures in support of me and in opposition of them. And if you also want to email, you can also email the Boston Cannabis Board at boston.gov. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
I hope it helps. I know that one of the union locals that we talked to, UFCW 1445, Gabe Camacho from there is now on that Boston Cannabis Board. Well, maybe you could talk to him. They're very progressive, and they get the need to maybe help some smaller applicants out, I think. So maybe you could talk to him too.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Things in Brookline are going to be a little bit funny. I got me and another advisory board. Well, let me say this. An advisory board member and a town meeting member from Brookline, and I got an apology from the town council about allowing that yes on 3 vote, capping the number of dispensaries at 4. Because as you know, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts mandates 20% of package stores. And Brookline has already given out 21 alcohol licenses. I think the 21st is on the Attorney General's desk to get approved. So theoretically, there should be a 5th license out there. But
almost a sixth. Would it even be like a sixth if you're over 21? I mean, that's like at least 5.
21 would be 4.2. You have to round
Right.
it up, so it'd be 5.
Oh, is it? Is that what it? Okay, okay. So that is the
yeah.
5. Okay. So I mean,
But town council is going to have to present at the Tuesday town meeting coming up for Brookline, and basically tell the town meeting people that they have to vote in a warrant article number 17, which will allow for one more social equity license. And he would have to present it in a way where all the town meeting members would have to vote on it to protect the town from lawsuit. So it's going to be kind of weird and funny town meeting. And I told you so is kind of far from even touching the truth over what's going on in Brookline, because we have told them.
Do you know? Yeah, it's funny because my town just had a town meeting recently, and we saw some of that happening where they had to fix their, what they had passed like the last town meeting, because they found out it wasn't legal. You got to follow the state law, and so it seems like they, in most, my town, it seemed like people were pretty smart to go along and not, because lawsuits aren't good for your town. To get sued by the state and applicants, and it's just not good. So like to be with the state law makes sense. When would you expect that to happen? Is like town meeting like every year, every 6 months? Is that coming up? What's going on with that?
The big town meeting is coming up actually in 2 days. It's going to be on Tuesday this coming up week. So my family will know a lot more about our outcome in Brookline. We've been waiting to sign a lease on a location in Brookline, but we can't because as of right now, there is no license available. So it doesn't make any sense for me to sign a lease. So hopefully they get things done in Brookline and get their extra social equity license out there, and then someone from the social equity program can apply and get that, hopefully a resident of Brookline. So really,
let me ask you the question, John. Like the town meeting, when they vote, is it just for elected officials or like town members that have been elected, or can anyone that's a resident voter vote on this on Tuesday night?
Town meeting is made out of, I want to say, 280 some odd members that will all be able to vote on this warrant article.
So if you know your town member meeting in Brookline, ask them to vote yes on it. Make sure that they're voting yes. Ask them, like, where do you stand on this?
So there's been a lot of chats on what has transpired, because the whole Yes on 3 campaign with capping the number of dispensaries at 4, they didn't talk about how they would be preventing a social equity resident from Brookline from acquiring a potential license. They didn't talk about potential monetary fines from not aligning with S3096 signed by Charlie Baker that goes into legislation July 1st. And there's a few things that they did not fail. They basically omitted these facts, and they threw a lot of money into signs and stuff like that. It's just funny that now they have to go back on it because what they did was illegal. It doesn't align with the state. It's going to open them up for lawsuits. And the last lawsuit that they had in Brookline was from a firefighter that didn't live in the town of Brookline that was wrongly terminated. I want to say that suit was settled for $8 million. Yeah, it's going to be funny to see how things play out in Brookline.
I'm getting some comments, random things on YouTube. I love when I get the YouTube comments. The chat comments says, this is effing ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous. And it's another reason why people need to get involved in their local town, city government. Let your city councilors, let your town reps know where you stand on this stuff, because it's ridiculous. Random things asked, what can we do to fix these issues like this? I think we've kind of been laying it out tonight, what you can do, which is contact your local town and make sure that they're allowing smaller players to open in cannabis and not shutting people out, not shutting social equity out. And also contact the Cannabis Control. Their emails on their website, anyone can contact them. The commissioners, the executive director, Sean Collins. That's the name that hasn't been said tonight that I think people want to talk to. Sean Collins, like executive director that's been there the whole time on the Cannabis Control Commission. He needs to answer for this. So if you're concerned about it, contact him. Danny Carson writes, if towns are so concerned about limiting their cannabis facilities, they should review their town's existing company's positive impact plan and hold them accountable for not keeping promises they made initially. It's funny. A lot of these big dispensaries had these impact plans that Danny's referencing, and they haven't actually delivered. And now they're shutting the door on smaller applicants from opening, like, just like they're doing to John in Boston, where they don't want you to open in Brighton because they've got a bigger dispensary that wants to open, or like in Malden, where they're not letting Warren and Stee open, smaller, actual Malden residents, actual someone who's been busted for cannabis Warren. They're not letting them open, but they're going to let the big out-of-towners with more money open in Malden. This is what's going on in the state. It's like they're choosing big out-of-state, out-of-town money over locals who have actually suffered, who have the designations, the SC designations. This is what's going on in cannabis right now, and it is absolutely disgusting. We've also got some other comments, but I want to bring Chief up here again too, because he's had some comments in the private chat, and I think you have more to say too, Chief.
Yeah.
You are a business owner right now. I love you, man, because you're like you don't need to say this stuff because you've already got your license. Unlike everyone else that got their license, you still have a lot of concern about what's going on, don't you?
I do, and I want to explain to folks. I'm extremely fortunate, I believe, because I chose to open in Cambridge, where we have at least one amazing city councilor, someone who had a lot of care, very insightful, city councilor Denise Simmons. And, we had a good relationship with the city council because of that. And so for things like impact fees, I wasn't planning on doing that. I knew it would come to a lawsuit. So instead, we went to City Councilor Denise Simmons in Cambridge. We explained, hey, there's this impact fee. I don't know how you guys are going to claim it or spend it. It's just going to result in lawsuits. You know what? The state is moving this way anyway. Why don't we just get rid of the impact fee? It's only EEs and SEs allowed in Cambridge anyway, thanks to the insight of the city councilors in Cambridge too. So let's just move forward. And so they led the kind of fight to remove the impact fees from our businesses in Cambridge due to that. So we never paid, we never had to seek our money back. We never had to sue or anything like that. And the thing is, Mike, if the CCC would have just helped us explain to Cambridge early on, then it would have been much easier. Like these municipalities don't even know that they can waive requirements for
impact fees,
impact fees and stuff.
And host community. You're right. They can waive that.
Like they don't even know. If the CCC would just help some of us, like talk to municipalities, then a lot of these things would go away. But the CCC doesn't do that. They tell us, go get a lawyer. We ain't got nothing to do with it. If you're having a problem with the municipality, get a lawyer. If you're having a problem as a EE or SE, go get a lawyer. If you're having a problem with another EE or SE, go get a lawyer. If you're having a problem with anything that the CCC is doing, just go get a lawyer. And it's not support. It's not support for these businesses. They're claiming that they're doing, but they're not. And what's happening is it's selecting for certain businesses and it's hurting other ones. And so I just want to say, I'm fortunate I'm in Cambridge because I have not seen the corruption that I see in Boston in Cambridge. I don't experience that at all in Cambridge. I've been watching Boston and it's going to get a lot worse because I don't think anybody is accountable, responsible, or anything like that. I think they're just going to encourage the worst business environment as they've been doing. And they're going to continue to hurt EEs, hurt SEs, not pay attention. And then it'll be a big mess and they'll pretend to scratch their head at the end of the day.
What should they be doing in Boston to make it more like Cambridge and help SEs and EEs and smaller local applicants?
Number one thing, you have to listen to the EEs and SEs. That sounds crazy, but they're not doing that. They don't even talk to us at all. They would love, though, they talk to nonprofits and other stuff and make all kinds of ideas and stuff about us. And that's where a lot of this bias and the corruption is actually existing. And you know, I'm listening to John, and I'm starting to think that he may not actually know all that's going on with some of the bias that's been targeted at him in Boston. Boston is very deep, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in Boston. And I think you, John, you just might not be aware of all the players that are involved over there, denying people HCAs, denying people. It's a whole racket in Boston. It's been going on for a long time. People have been closing their eyes to it, and these other municipalities get affected too. But it's a wild west in Boston. Basically, you could do whatever you want to another applicant to prevent them from getting an HCA, and you can do just about anything you want to get an HCA. And all of these different levels of authority are just, they're just.
It's a fake facade. I think it's a fake facade. You are definitely right about that, Chief. I do know of 2 SE applicants on Harvard Ave that are fighting each other. They're right next to each other.
One of them's my wife, and they're not fighting each other, John. What happened is they both went to get an HCA, but when my wife got an HCA, she had been targeted by this other group that didn't want her to get an HCA. Targeted with anti-business stuff, all kind of stuff. They held meetings with these nonprofit groups, misinformed the public, did a whole campaign, showed up at her community meeting, lied, slandered, defamed her in front of the public and licensing authorities. And like I said, it's just kind of par for the course in Boston as these groups are being rewarded for this type of stuff. And so that's why I wouldn't be surprised, John, if you ran into some of this same bias and didn't even know, because that's what's going on in these areas, man. There's some people are in the business of denying other people host community agreements, permits, access to the market, licenses, and other things. There's a business out there, and it's big time in Boston.
You are spitting straight facts because, yeah, I mean, I'm going up against that right now in Boston. And it's either they're going to fall in line or they're going to see a lot of lawsuits. And it's really disgusting, the stuff that I see in Boston, because I have 1,500 signatures, and basically another company can make a donation, have a state rep and a city councilor, and they're all set.
Yeah,
that's your 1,500 signatures.
It's amazing.
How many
signatures?
How many signatures, John, do you think that they have? Like that? That what's that company's name again?
Happy Valley.
How many?
Happy Valley.
Happy Valley has no signatures. You have 1,500 of Brighton residents.
All Brighton residents, all from the area, all within half mile or a mile of the location. Real residents.
I'm telling you, if folks will find out like later once it's too late. I'm telling you, what's been being allowed in Boston is totally inappropriate. Folks know it, but nobody's gonna stick their necks out for what, Nah, they're just kind of there, and it's just getting more corrupt by the day. Because like I said, there's a racket, there's a business going on where people are being paid to prevent other businesses from succeeding. And when you bring this to the CCC, they're like, go get a lawyer, man. Have a nice day.
Chief,
I want to ask you actually, well, before we
quick question. I'm sorry.
Go
I see coming a class action lawsuit at some point. All the people out of business, all the people that are taking them, like, wasn't there a guy that cashed out and just ran away? Right, Chief?
I don't know all these stories, but
it was crazy. But I think there's going to be a class action at some point. That's I don't know.
I believe you, Angelo. And check it out. Mike, check this out. I'm a veteran. I served this Commonwealth. I was in the Army National Guard. I served the state. You understand? And so then I went to a federal war in that capacity. But so now I'm back here. I was in the unlicensed biz. And then, the licensed biz came. I wanted to support my community, support the new industry, help build it locally. So I made the switch into the licensed biz, expecting to be protected by the laws and the structures that we created and all that. It's a facade. Like John said, it's not really there. You can't go to anyone to have these things enforced for our behalf. There is
what you're saying is totally right, because I'm not blind to what goes on in Boston. It's because I haven't aligned myself with quote MRCC, Big Hope Project, whoever the F you want to call yourselves, as
Boom! There you
a
go.
big group.
Yeah, big
And
hope.
I don't align myself with any of them because I don't feel that I need another cheerleader for my story. My story enough, and my background enough, and my business sense enough should be enough for my application to get a fair shake. I shouldn't need no bunch of cheerleaders with pom-poms saying,
They're
let's go,
corrupt.
minority.
They're corrupt agents that are out here creating chaos, trying to stop people like you, me, my wife, other EEs, SEs, other applicants from moving forward, from gaining access into business. And they're out there exploiting people and the whole system, claiming to be supporting us. But that's not what's happening. They're actually hurting us. And everyone knows. Municipalities know, Cannabis Control Commission knows, and they just say, call a lawyer, buddy.
I want to ask you both too, like, I want to do more to help, especially like you
Boston
said,
needs to clean up the corruption. Boston needs to clean up the corruption if they want to have a real positive cannabis business environment, because it's just getting worse over there. Everyone can see it. You can't hide from it. You got some crazy clout chasing stuff going on in Boston and straight blatant criminality. I feel bad for the folks that are trying to get licensed in Boston because it's an absolute free-for-all.
It's impossible. I mean, not to interrupt you, Mike. I'm sorry, but
I want to ask you both a question. I'm cutting you off right there. I've been trying to get this question out. How can we help? Like, is it better to get Boston Cannabis Control, Boston, whatever you call them, those commissioners on, or the city councilors on, or zoning people?
Boston
like
Cannabis Board.
That's
Boston
who we should
Cannabis Board has the last say.
Boston Cannabis Board needs to take accountability for the environment that they're creating.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's what they need to do, or just get out of the business entirely.
Are there any specific members of that board that you think are like the most influential that we should like try to get on the show?
If Kathleen is still on there, she is one
Some
of
are more
them.
influential than others. I don't have any business in front of the Boston Cannabis Board, so I can speak freely. There are some very strong members, clearly, and they clearly lead some of the other members to decisions. That's
exactly.
Totally
they
weird. Some
suit.
boards operate that way, right? But it makes it feel unfair for folks that this is new stuff. So you can't have kind of one person leading the rest. We need people to kind of listen to us, the actual applicants, the market participants, and the nonprofits have been demonizing us, making it very difficult to do just about anything. And so if Boston's going to be serious, don't be talking about how you're supporting small businesses when you have an environment like that. How about that?
Awesome. I think we got a future show here. I'm gonna definitely reach out to those Boston Cannabis board members and get you guys both on to talk to them.
I mean, I would love to know, because I got my score sheets from our meeting back in November 2019, and one of the commissioners actually gave us a passing score, and then there was two with score sheets that weren't filled out. But I mean, I just don't get the bias. Me and all the social equity applicants and equity applicants that are approved by the state just want a fair chance against these big companies. Just a fair chance. Just to hear us on the same level. That's all.
Thank you, John. I want to ask Warren Lynch in Malden. Should we be banging down on any of the government leaders over there, like the mayor? Like, what he hasn't helped you at all, has he?
Well, he offered to help. Like he told us to hang in there, and he said he believed in what we were doing, but he hasn't sent a letter saying anything like that to the city council or anything. And like you were saying, Chief, there are some politicians who support our cause. Like there's one in Cambridge that you talked about, and the Attorney General has been looking at this stuff, and Michael Moore. And if we reach out to them, if somebody from the state talks to your city and town, the cities and towns tend to look up to the state most of the time, and they could change their policies, they could change their minds. And in terms of in Malden, definitely, if you live in Malden, contact your city councilor, because there are a lot of city councilors that see that there's a problem, but they need to know that the citizens want them to make a change, because it's going to be really controversial. Cannabis is always, it's a fight in so many different cities and towns. And but if you reach out and say, I'm a citizen, I'll be behind you if you're behind social equity, they could stick their neck out in a way that they wouldn't if nobody was doing that. And definitely, if you don't live in Malden or you don't live in Boston, reach out to the CCC. Even if you think they're not going to listen, they might not listen, but it can't hurt to reach out to them and to the Attorney General, to your state senator and your state representatives. But if you live in Malden or Boston, definitely reach out to your city councilor, because there could be a good one like in Cambridge who's just shy and ready to speak up. We had a couple Malden city councilors that seemed pretty ready to do stuff. Amanda Linehan did. She tried real hard last year, and something could happen if enough people spoke up.
Thank you so much, Warren. I hope it works out for you in the city of Malden, whether it's to the city council waking up or this lawsuit. This judge, gives you your summary judgment. I want to bring Angelo back up.
Sorry.
Your situation is a strange situation here.
Yes.
Like most of the other ones are in cities and towns. You're dealing with the Cannabis Control Commission.
Yep.
Where's it stand now? Is there any hope that you're going to win this? And can we help? How can we help you? How can people help on this?
I always have hope. Tomorrow's my last day. This is my last shot, Mike. And here's my thing. If they deny me, Mike, I'm just going to fall out of the business. They can't deny my fiance. She's a perfect person. She's never done anything in her life. She's an immigrant from India. She's a great business owner. So there's no reason to deny her. So if they do that, that will look really, really malicious. So if I have no choice, Mike, I'll bow out. Not bow out, but if they leave me no option, and then I'll take it, another way, another direction. I'm not going to just walk away. I'm going to continue to fight in another way. But the only thing we can do is I guess talk to the SRC. Now, from my understanding, Mike, they're two separate entities, right, Chief? The SRC and the CCC. So the ones who make the suitability review determination are completely separate from the SRC.
That's what I've heard, that they're supposed to be independent.
I don't believe that.
I thought some members are in there, so I don't really know. You probably know more about the suitability process than I do.
Okay, because if that's the case,
to be independent.
Yeah, if that's the case, I'm definitely not. They're going to deny me. They're not going to hear me. So my hope was, Mike, that they were completely two separate entities, and I could deal with them in a rational manner and speak the truth. Because the way they wrote this memorandum, which is actually illegal, the way they delivered it to me, they gave me absolutely zero time to respond. So it shouldn't even be submitted. But it makes you look bad. They used information that was false. It was not true. Just completely lied. They lied. And I can prove it. Just crazy. So I don't know what we can do because I'm at my wit's end. I got 12 hours before I'm heard.
So tomorrow's your deadline. This is it. People need it.
Either they're going to tell me goodbye or they're going to, reiterate and say, okay, we're going to let you in. But to deny me, just so everybody knows, to deny me over a petty larceny, what is considered today a misdemeanor. I have one felony on my record, and that is for larceny over $250. Which $250 is like everything's $250. My vape pen's $250. So that's why they increased it, Mike. And literally the next year, so in 2018, so my case got closed, and I believe 2016, almost 2017 of January. Literally about 13 months later, they increased the cap to $1,200 from $250 to $1,200 because even the courts realized there was too many people going to jail for this over petty larceny. It was just in and out, revolving doors. And another thing is, I really want to touch on the fact that they need to follow their own bylaws. They took nothing into consideration when evaluating whether I was suitable. They didn't even look at it. Because if they did, you can Google my name, Mike. I've won over 50 awards from marketing to advertising. I mean, they didn't look at anything I've ever done. Nothing at all. They just said no. And I really believe it's retaliatory. I think they retaliate against anybody who questions them. And it questions them not doing their job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, because there's a lot of fear. I mean, that's what we hear all the time. Yep. I know Chief knows that too, right?
Absolutely. I'm concerned that my wife might be getting some of this targeting because of how vocal I've been, because I don't know how unprofessional and biased all these people are. I'm seeing it come out, and it's starting to just look worse and worse and worse. And I'm hearing like more and more stories. And I'm telling you, Mike, it's all going to come out how this stuff all works. Municipal, nonprofit, and state to all kind of hurt and keep down small businesses. It's all going to end up coming out at the end. So we might as well like start applying ourselves now to figure out really what's the real process, what the honest process is, because there's a different process going on that some of us are subject to when we try to get a license and open up a business. And that's not the one that's laid out by the regulations.
I always wonder if the feds are watching. I mean that the show, like they could probably.
Well, people should be concerned, right? Look, I don't know. People know how this license stuff works, but if you have a cannabis establishment license in the state of Massachusetts, it's only as good as that paperwork, man. It's only as good as the paperwork. If you got something on there that's not correct, or if you've lied or fudged something, or you got some corrupt people there that are lying and corrupt, your license is no good in the Fed's eyes. Your license will not protect you from the federal government if you got garbage on there. And some of these municipalities are like forcing garbage into the host community agreement process, weakening the actual business that's trying to open up there, like destroying the opportunity for that business, making them susceptible to federal charges. These are the type of things that have to be like looked at, explored, anything. And so we don't have liaisons. There's nobody from the CCC to help businesses like us navigate those extremely serious compliant issues. And what's going on is very non-compliant stuff is starting to proliferate, and the folks that have friends and buddies up high end up getting through, and the rest of us end up caught somewhere in between.
Thank you so much for being on the show, everyone, tonight. Chief from Yamba Market, Central Square on Massachusetts Ave. What's the address on Mass Ave?
We're at 580 Mass Ave in the heart of historic Central Square in Cambridge, Mass. We are open 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Yamba Market. We're independent. We are the first adult use in Cambridge. You know, we work really hard to satisfy our customers and have an amazing menu that connoisseurs like myself can enjoy. So come check us out. We're open till 11 p.m. 7 days.
I had I know someone else made it. I forget who made it, but I had something from Yamba Market recently. A friend gave me. It was very nice. It was like a little cigar. Not a little. It was like a 2 grams. What was it?
I thought you were talking about the Jetas. I thought you were talking about the Jetas.
No, I'm talking from Yamba Market.
We got a lot of exciting stuff over there, including blunts and bluntitos and bigger ones. And
it was like a 2 gram, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can't wait to see you over there, Mike. Look, you're gonna come to Yamba Market.
I feel like I don't even have to go over there. People bring it to me.
You probably don't.
You've made it. You made it, Chief. I didn't even have to go to your shop to get the product from you. It was unbelievable. People are giving it to me.
We got ice cream now, all kinds of stuff, man, for the summer.
Hey, Mike, can we leave our emails on here and tell people how to contact us?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'd like to stay in touch with some of the people on here too. It's Angelo@monarchyinc.com. If you guys ever want to email me and stay in touch.
Any other final thoughts tonight, Angelo, too? Anything else you want to leave the audience? Because this is
Mike, I'd like to come on after tomorrow, maybe show the end result, whether I got denied or approved, and what we'll do from there.
I would love it.
If you'd have me.
Oh, absolutely. Hit me up.
And thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck. I hope that it turns out much better than we expect tomorrow. Like Sean Collins, you got to do something here. This is not right. You've made such a good point that they string you along. They make all this promise to you. It's like a criminal to me. It's almost like those scams when they're promising you a job and they need $100, and it's even worse than that. You've spent, how much money have you spent? $175,000.
I'll be at $200,000 in 2 months if this continues.
I mean, that's a scam.
It's a scam. And I think there needs to be this is ridiculous. There needs to be protocol, Mike. They can't be getting to applications whenever they choose. I don't care how backed up you are, hire more people. There's no reason. Listen, I process applications on a daily basis, okay? I hired more people when I grew. My business grew, I hired more people. It's a very simple solution.
Thank you for being here. Steve, let's bring up Steve. Do you have any final thoughts tonight? Thank you so much, Angelo.
Thank you.
justice always comes down to activism. So the best thing you can do to help small cannabis operators in Massachusetts is engage with both the city and state levels and let them know that there are people who are still watching and invested in the success of these operators, and that if you care about your community, then you're going to be much better off with small local operators than these giant corporations who like to come in and just treat it like a gold rush or a land grab.
Absolutely. Warren, do you have any final thoughts tonight too? You're on mute again, Warren. I'm going to read some of the comments. We've had quite a few comments come in. Random Things on YouTube says, can we get Mr. Sean on the show? Talking about Sean Collins. Maybe. You know what? That's my next invite. I'm going to have to invite Sean Collins on the show. I have a feeling he won't come on the show. Let's find out. Let's find out if Sean Collins will come on the show. Another question or comment was Go Joe. So we're getting some support from some of our guests tonight. Where was that from? That was from Twitch, actually. Wow. We're getting Twitch comments. We never get those. Joe, you're popular on Twitch. Thank you for helping us on that. There was John, actually, not Joe. Go John. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. But we're getting some comments on Twitch, which is good. Also, another Facebook user writes Yamba. So we're getting some support for Yamba Market as well. What do you got for us, Warren? What are your final comments tonight? You're still on mute. What's going on? Should I unmute you?
He put it so well. Really, the biggest thing that you can do is tell your friends and yourself also contact your elected officials, because they're the ones making these decisions, and they try, a lot of these decisions happen in the dark, and but when they see even a few local people showing up to their meetings, it can really change their minds, because they care about who votes for them, and supposedly they're supposed to care about the people that voted for them, and they care about getting reelected, certainly, even if they don't care about voting about that. And some of them really do care, like the lady in Cambridge. I'm so glad that Yamba Market was lucky enough to meet her.
Hey,
And,
Warren, I don't want to cut you off, but I got to add this to that piece, Warren. The Cambridge Chamber of Commerce just recognized Yamba Market as the best small business in Cambridge for 2023. I want to thank my staff and employees. And I'm saying that to point out, it's small businesses that are going to actually build this whole environment the proper way. We are the only ones. And so if these municipalities are not listening and supporting small businesses, they're not about building something healthy, man. I'm once again just so fortunate because of Cambridge. I wanted to share that. That's what it looks like when we're allowed to open our small businesses in these municipalities. We become models for what it's supposed to look like in the whole business. That's what I'm doing. That's what Warren's doing. That's what we're all trying to do. And so we just want that fair shot. We want the regulations that benefit us to be supported. And we want the thing to work the way they said it would and the way the regulations have been laid out by the voters. So I'm sorry to cut you off, Warren, but I want everyone to hear my experience in Cambridge versus some of this stuff that's been going on in municipalities. It makes such a difference. And the CCC can change these municipalities. You know what I mean? They can talk to them.
It's true. Businesses like yours, you're the leaders. These big MSOs, they're just, they're trying to make a quick profit, but they don't make policy happen in Massachusetts the way small businesses and social equity businesses do. And you want your city or town to have good news about the cannabis happening there. You want small businesses and social equity businesses. And I think most Massachusetts voters want that. And so, reach out and talk to people about it. And you might find something like they have in Cambridge instead of Fall River and some other cities in town.
I want to thank you all, Warren Lynch and Steve McMorris from Malden for joining us. I want to thank Chief from Yamba Market. I want to thank everyone, John also, and Angelo. We had some great guests tonight, and I think I'm missing one too. Yes, I am. David Rabinowitz also was here. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. You were awesome. You did a great job. Very respectful to each other too. Great conversation. I want to thank you all, and I wish you all the best of luck. And thank you so much. We're the Young Jerks. My name is Mike Crawford. We've got a special show coming up on Wednesday night. We're going to be discussing a lot more of these issues. Cannabis workers that we talk about, worker safety. We're going to be discussing that. We're going to have a roundtable about all of these issues that are happening, both locally in Massachusetts, but also nationally. And we've got a lot more planned. So I want to thank all of our guests, supporters, followers. If you're just listening tonight for the first time, follow us. Make sure you're liking our content and following, subscribing on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you're listening to us. And if you really like us, make sure you're following us on iTunes too. Subscribe, review, rate us on those platforms. It really does help us with the algorithm. Like and review. Thank you so much, everybody. Put the phone number in your phone too. 978-560-3155 is our listener line. Call in next time. We really didn't open up the phone lines tonight, but I did actually see some calls too coming in, but we had such a good conversation tonight. I think it was best just to stick to what we had. An hour and a half, 90 minutes. I want to thank all of our guests, listeners, supporters, followers, people who are kicking in now on our anchor.fm/the Young Jerks or Spotify now. We're on podcasts by Spotify. You can subscribe and support us with a monthly donation, and also on Substack, midnightmass.substack.com. And I also know some people also kick in money on our Patreon. I want to, just shout out all of our big time supporters on there because it does make a difference. I want to thank you all. My name is Mike Crawford. This is the Young Jerks. We will see you again Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Looking forward to it. A lot more. And like I said, workers, we've talked a lot about workers lately. Worker safety issue. True Leaf Holyoke is having a special deal. If you don't know about it, check out the last episode. But the feds are going in there, and they're going to make sure that the air is safe. They're going to find out what's going on over there. And if you want to find out more about that, listen to that last episode. But I'm really happy about some things that are going to be happening on this show related to that as well. Expecting a new whistleblower. So a lot is happening. Stay tuned. We'll see you next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mike Crawford. Thank you so much, everybody.